I guess was talk just a little bit what we got going for the open date right here. Number one, it was well needed. Needed. 11 straight weeks is a grind, so finally get that open date, get a chance to catch our breath a little bit, and got some coaches out on the road. Went out Sunday. They'll be back tomorrow morning, and then we'll start our prep. Of course, Chuck and Billy and a lot of coaches are already in working on Western, but the kids had yesterday and today off, and then we'll start back practice with a light practice tomorrow and follow our normal open date calendar. So get ready to go, and got a great challenge, as you all know, but we're going to catch our breath a little bit this week and get ready to go next week.
What's the biggest thing you learned, Doc, in last year's Western Kentucky game that could help you in the game this year?
Well, I think the biggest thing, that quarterback's great, is a great player. I mean, he's a tremendous player, and got great respect for him and what he's done. And they got really good skill players, and at the end of the day, you got to play. You got to play some great defense. I mean, it was just a crazy game, and hopefully it doesn't get to that point again this year. But at some point, whoever plays the best defense will win that game in a couple of weeks. So hopefully that's us.
Along that same lines, you play FIU last week. They play FIU this week. So is that an advantage to be able to watch that one live and then look at the tape later?
Yeah, I think good football teams, which they are, have a lot of tendencies already. I mean, we had a lot of tendencies a year ago, and we got some that are starting to happen a little bit right now because you're pretty good at what you do at this point. And I don't think as successful as they've been on offense that they're going to change what they're doing a lot. They got really good skill kids, and the running backs, they lost a great running back, of course, but the other guys have stepped in, done a great job, and that quarterback's tremendous. So, I don't think they're going to change a lot about what they're doing. But I think the biggest thing for us is, and they had a week off last week, so I don't feel sorry for them not having one this week. But they had one last week, and they had the opportunity to do what we're doing this week and get their kids back. And whenever you go 11 straight weeks like that, and they went 10 weeks or whatever they went, you got some guys that got some bumps and bruises. But I think this week, at the end of this week, and by the time we get ready to go again on Sunday with full game preparation, that the majority of our football team will feel pretty good.
Something that you all have been able to do better this year than last year is sustain the 4- and 5-minute drive offensively. And how crucial is that going against a team where you want to keep their offense off the field?
Well, there's no doubt. And, you talk about, we had a lot of discussions on trying to keep their offense off the field. And if you look at the time of possession, we're about the middle of the pack in our league as far as time of possession this year. And you've mentioned at times we've been pretty good at, being able to control the clock a little bit. So some of that will go into it. But at the end of the day, we got to play great defense, and we got to find a way to win the kicking game. And we've been pretty good at the kicking game all year. That needs to continue. And offensively, as many points that were scored last year, if we don't turn that football, the issue at the end of the day, we didn't play great defense, but we turned the ball over offensively too. And when you're playing a team as good as what they are, then you got to take care of the football, and you have to play great defense. You got to get stops in the red zone, and you got to win the kicking game. So it'll be a great challenge for us. But I like our team. I like where we are right now. I like our team, and they'll show up and play.
Defensively in last year's game, you all had 2 or 3 chances to make interceptions of Dowdy's passes, and those balls fell to the turf, whereas they didn't. And you all have done a lot better job of being able to secure those interceptions this year.
And I look at Western Kentucky too, and they do a tremendous job with turnover ratio too. I think they're 1 in the league. I think we're 2. So both of us have done a pretty good job of, number 1, getting takeaways, and number 2, taking care of the football for the most part. So that's that's why we are where we are right now. We'll both be playing for that East Championship, and that's because both teams have done a good job of taking care of the ball and creating turnovers, and that's why we both are where we are right now. And it's going to be a great game.
The rushing attack getting going. I know you all had a couple games, Charlotte, Middle Tennessee, in which the rushing attack hadn't produced like what it had the previous weeks. To get it going and not have all the pieces there healthy, how important was that going into this week?
Well, I think it was important also because those young running backs are continuing to get better too. Holliday Foster and Keon Davis, and Remy's back finally healthy, again. So to get those guys back, and Pittman, this will be the first time in a long time we've had 4 healthy running backs, and that offensive line came out of that game intact. So we got those guys for a couple of weeks of preparation where they're good to go. Devers went in there and played the best he's played all year because he's finally healthy now in a backup role. So, finally, week 12, whatever it is, we're finally getting most of our guys back, and we'll have a couple more guys back that didn't play in that game, Saturday. So it'll be good to get those guys back too.
As important as the bye week is for physical health, how do you try to keep the guys mentally sharp throughout as well?
Well, I mean, we just, they're number one, we got great kids, got great leadership on this team, and to be honest with you, I didn't want them around yesterday and today. I look up and they're all around. I mean, they just, you look at them, they're in the building, they're watching tape, they're in on their own, but that's what, great teams, the guys that like football, that's what they do, and so they're around, and I think mentally, you don't have to worry about them being mentally sharp and getting ready to go play. They'll do that, but we'll actually start meeting again with them tomorrow, and we'll have a practice tomorrow, and a light practice, but we'll have one. So, our game preparation's already started, of course, and I'm sure on their part, theirs has too.
Is it interesting to see the dynamic of last year? You all were able to pretty much stay healthy for the most part. Had a couple of injuries that knocked guys out for the year, but this year it's just sort of been that steady dose of injuries, and you all have overcome it, and yet you're still in the same spot as last year.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I'm proud of the players. I mean, that says a lot for the players, and the guys have there's a lot of guys that have had to step up in important roles and get it done, and they have. I mean, and our coaches too. Coach Mirabal has done a great job of patchworking that offensive line together at times and getting them to play, and the running backs, and for the most part, there's a lot of positions. Defensive line last week, you had some young kids that stepped up and played really well, which was great to see. And I looked out there a couple times last week, and it was an all-freshman defensive line. That bodes well for the future, because they went in there and played well. But got a lot of young guys that stepped up and played well, and like I said, I think that'll help us down the road.
Do you have to gear them down a little bit, Doc, just because you have the open week and you're coming off of a good effort?
Gear them down?
Yeah, I mean, just let them get too amped up.
Yeah, I think I'd be more with myself and the coaches. We don't get going too quick, but because we got a long ways to a week from Saturday, But everybody understands what this game's all about. At the end of the day, ultimately you're right where you want to be. I mean, you're playing for the East Championship with the opportunity to play for the conference championship. So that's exactly the position you want to put yourself in, and that's a tribute to them that they have, and that's where we're supposed to be. I mean, that was ultimately. What we want for this for third year in a row, we're doing it. And that's where we want to be, and that's where we want to stay. And so it's critical that we're here right now, and we got to make sure that we do everything we could possibly do to find a way to win that game.
Next week, do you make an adjustment and go Monday because you play on Friday?
Yeah, Woody, what we're going to do is Sunday's Tuesday. So Sunday will be a Tuesday practice, and then Monday will be a Wednesday, and then we'll have 2 Thursdays like I did at the bowl game. Because we've had a little time off here, so we'll have 2 Thursday practices, and then we'll have a normal Friday. It'll be Thursday, and then, of course, play on Friday. So it will be a little bit of a change-up, but it's good that we have the opportunity to start a little earlier this week.
Doc Haig hit some big field goals for you since you've been here, but how big was Nick Smith's field goal?
That may have been the biggest field goal I've ever had as a coach. I mean, I don't mean that. I don't mean that jokingly. I mean, I'm just so happy for that kid. And I was sitting there and I said, what in the world am I going to do if he doesn't make this thing, And but he made it, which was great, and I was just happy for him. He's a great kid and kicked extremely well, for the first 8-10 games or whatever it was, and then had struggled there for a couple games, but came back, and it was just great to see him come back. We're going to need him at some point this year. We got 2-3 big-time games left, hopefully, and at some point he's going to be called on again. It was just great to see him go out there and do that Saturday, and I was happy for him.
What about the reception from the fans? Because they understood how big that was. That was a lot of the motivation of the game.
Yeah, they did. I think they were holding their breath too, probably. But it was great to see the way they reacted, and it was great for the kid. I was happy for him.
You turned around after Maryland, after the loss to Rice a couple of years ago and got ready for Maryland. Turned around last year after Western, got ready. Last week your kids turned around from a bad loss and got ready. What's the key factor in getting a team to go from that down place that they're at to, maybe even just a week later, you got to turn it around and turn it back up?
I wish I quit having to turn it around, but yeah, the key was number one, you got good kids. You got great kids that have, and you got great leadership on that particular team because they got to help you. That leadership has to help you, but the biggest thing is you got to put it behind you. You can't. We talk from the time that game's over at middle, and hey, you can't let one team beat you twice, because it can, and it happens every year to a lot of people throughout the country. But you try to you quit talking about it. I know I'm talking to you guys about it. I called Jason on Sunday. I said I want one damn media member mention middle to our guys on Monday, because I want that behind them and looking forward, because you had so much still to play for. If you're worried about what happened last week, then you're gonna get beat the following week. So, as coaches, you got to, and coaches have to do that too now. I mean, we're as bad as anybody else. I mean, You can't walk around pouting around a lot, the offices and all that. They got to see that you put it behind as coaches, and that you're looking only forward. And I think when the coaches do that, then the players will follow, and you get great leadership on that team, and they'll make sure it happens. And fortunately, we've been able to do that in the last 2 or 3 times that's happened to us, and it's a good thing.
How much during this bye week will you and a lot of the young guys, even some of the old guys alike, though, like do some self-introspection, look at their own tape and try to work on that rather than try to game plan?
I don't know how much the players actually look at themselves, but we do a lot of self-scout, as far as what we've done with tendencies and that type of thing, and so we have the opportunity to make sure we go back and see what what Western Kentucky is looking at us as far as our defensive tendencies are concerned, offense, special teams, and all those things. So we got to take a look at ourselves, but to be honest, at this time of year, you probably got if you're pretty good at what you're doing, you got some tendencies because you're good at doing some certain things. And for example, we ran inside zone last year 390 some times or something because we're pretty good at doing it. But good teams normally have some tendencies, but you take a look at it and make sure that you can evaluate yourself and try to get better in all the areas.
What's been the biggest improvement for Western Kentucky from last year when y'all was?
Well, I mean, they were just tremendous. They were tremendous a year ago offensively, and they are again. They haven't changed much. They got the same people back. I mean, that entire offensive line's back. Their tight end's been out a couple of weeks. I'm sure he'll be back against us. And now they lost a great running back. And I mean, this league lost three. There was four tremendous running backs in our league, and 3 of them were out for the season. Unfortunately, I mean, I know UTEP lost theirs, Western lost theirs, and of course Devin hadn't played much for us. So, but those young running backs have gone out. Probably the biggest improvement they've made is defensively. I think last year they were close to the bottom of our conference in total defense, and they're about the middle of the pack right now. And again, they're also doing a great job with the turnover margin. So I'd say the 2 biggest improvements they've made are probably because they're right where they were a year ago on offense, but defensively they're much improved.
Is a similar climb from you all offensively in 2012, but the defense suffered to the 2013 season when you all sort of started to take off with this?
As far as
I mean, just comparing the 2 programs.
as far as I see what you're saying. Yeah, as far as our having to outscore people that year and defense but getting better, there's no doubt. Now that being said, I mean, a year ago they still went to a bowl game and won 7 or 8 games there a year ago with that team, but. There's no doubt they've made tremendous improvement. And at the end of the day, to win a championship, you've got to play great defense, and they're getting better. They're a lot better defensively than what they were a year ago, and hopefully we are too. I think we're pretty good defensively too, so it should be a good game.
What does Doc Holliday do on off week? Do you take a night to detach? Do you make your wife dinner and watch her romantic comedy?
I don't I better be quiet about that deal, but I haven't made a whole hell of a lot of dinners, I promise you that, but she probably wouldn't eat it anyway. We just been, I mean, we're here. I mean, we're here. We get home a little earlier, but it doesn't change much. We're still here and recruiting and, trying to get better, and an open date doesn't change a whole lot for us because there's still a lot going on out there. Smock would have asked that question.
You can admit you like chick flicks. It's okay.
No. Thanks, guys.